I'm Marlene Howard, and back in 2012 I developed the cancer and had a bunch of treatments, and I had a lot of prayers to go up for me that had been answered, and then I was doing good. 2013, 2014 I got it back again in the same location. So they kept on praying and praying for me. And it was pretty well worldwide, the prayers were going. And things came along good, and I was good for 2015. In 2016 I got it all back again, but in a entirely different place. This was up in the lymph nodes and on the chest more. So I was doing treatments 5 days out of the week, every 2 weeks. And it got down to the point to where they said things aren't looking too good. They got to slow up and they got to stop me because it was affecting my body, my bones and all, and I couldn't do much walking anymore. In fact, to get in to do my treatments, I had to go in by wheelchair. And then before that, the one doctor spoke with my grandson, and then the cancer doctor spoke with my husband and my grandson, and they said, "Oh, gonna have to stop." And he said, "We'll get hospice in to help you." And my grandson's supposed to have his shoulder operated on. They told him, "Don't do that because you're gonna be needed." So got to talking and thinking about things and how good the Lord has been with me and answering prayers. So I had asked the minister, Pastor Dustin, and some of the elders to come to my home and pray over me, which praise the Lord all for. So I went back in to have my checkup with the cancer doctor. And he met me in the hall and he said, "Are you who you think I think you are?" I said, "Yeah." I said, "I'm your girl." He said, "I can't believe it." So we went back in his office and talked. He said, "What happened?" I said, "Well, I'm going to tell you." And I told him that the pastor and the elders had come. He said, "Well, you look great." He said, "Really, you look great." He said, "I can't believe it." But he said, "I pray for you every night too," he said. So I said, "Yep, this is me. I'm ready to start fighting again. What are we going to do?" He said, "I'm going to let you go till January of 2017. He doesn't want to see me or anything. And we're going to do another PET scan and just see where I stand at." And due to it all, and I've come to know the Lord more yet than what I did back through the years. I was always a worrywart, but back through the years I learned it ain't getting you anywhere, so just hand it over to the Lord and He'll take care of it all. And I said, and that's the way I went through a couple of years prior before this all come about.
My name is Bud Howard, or Curtis is my first name. Everybody knows me by Bud. And the last 4 years as a caregiver, in my opinion, would be extremely difficult without faith in the Lord, because the things that I had to do without His wisdom, or the wisdom that He gave me, and without the strength and the courage, would be virtually impossible. To watch somebody you love and your best friend go downhill, you know, it's extremely difficult. And without faith and praying about it, and all of a sudden you see things, well, they're not as bad as I thought they were going to be. And with the Lord's help, it's unbelievable the changes I've seen. And I'm a firm believer that without God's help and asking Him for help, Lord only knows I can't do it, and without His help, it would be virtually impossible. Well, when Arlene requested the elders to come, it was touch and go pretty much of which way we're going to go here. I mean, she was probably pretty much at the point where she needed help to get from one end of the house to the other. or she would at least, unbeknown to me lots of times, leave the kitchen and sit in the living room here or something before she'd go on her journey. But after the elders and the pastor prayed over her for strength and courage and healing, it was just like, she just almost got up and went on about her business. I could see her being strengthened every day almost. It's unbelievable what prayer can do, and I think without it, I think we have a different outcome at this point in time. I'm thankful for God through all the trials, and especially the guidance through my years, which I probably didn't realize I've been guided, but until you have a loved one that is facing what she was facing, you're real thankful for the help you got and the guidance you got through all this, because I think without it, I hope I did a great job, but you would really be stumbling around. You don't know which way to go. And I'm really thankful for that, because I'm thankful for all the people who give you your input and the prayers and the support, because without God's help and the support, it'd be extremely difficult.
Well, my name is Lori Heckert. I have been attending York Grace Brethren Church for a little over a year now. Relocated from Ohio to Pennsylvania, and that was definitely a trial and a challenge. When I think about being thankful to God in the midst of trials, I have to go back a lot farther than just the last year. About 15 years ago, a section of my life kind of brings this whole thing to, it's when I learned my lesson, if you will, about being thankful to God in the midst of trials. And I'll try to make this very brief. I was at a point in my life when, from my perspective, the best part of my life was the fact that I was a mother, a Christian, a mother of 5 kids, homeschooling, a stay-at-home homeschooling mom. To me, everything was going great in that area of my life. My kids were loving each other. I mean, this whole sibling rivalry thing, it did not exist in my house, at least not in front of my eyes. But I could see that the relationships that my children were having with each other and with the Lord was completely different than what I grew up with. And I was so thankful for all of that. And then circumstances changed dramatically. We were at a place where we were within a few short months of losing our cars, losing our home, and I really, really felt pushed by the Lord out of my home, out of the homeschooling, and into the job market. And you talk about somebody being mad as a wet hen. That was me. Oh, I was so angry, and specifically I was angry at God because He's the sovereign of the universe, right? Why did He have this happen? Why did He let it? Didn't He know how wonderful things were going, how my kids were developing and growing in Him? And this was like the best part of my life, and things were in place, and it's like, oh. And then I had to backtrack a minute and say, wait a minute. Who is He? He's the creator and sustainer of the universe. And I'm going to tell Him what's the best thing for me. So I had to backtrack, and as the truth of that washed over me, I was not happy. I still was not a happy camper. And I still did not know why He had to have these things happen. But I was able to settle myself down and feel a sense of peace, even though I was not happy with my circumstances and I did not have understanding at the time. I was still able to calm myself and acknowledge, first of all, who He was and who I am not. And second of all, He's going to show me in time why this had to be. Okay, so now you have to advance with me. Fast forward a number of years. I pushed into the job market. One of the earliest jobs I had at that point was a friend of mine called and said, Lori, I hear you're looking for some work, and I can't really promise you a lot, but I've got a temporary position. I just need somebody in here to answer my phones. Well, I took it. It was a temporary, low-wage paying position. I took it in faith, thinking, well, God, this is what you're providing. Okay, fine. I'd love to tell you all the things that He provided through that position, but I want to keep this short. The next next job opportunity I had, He provided a 50% increase in my income. Oh my goodness, what a blessing that was. But I still didn't have my answer. I still didn't know. Why do I have to be in this job market anyway? I want to be a mom in my home. I want to be homeschooling my kids. The third job that I got provided yet an additional 30% increase in my income. Holy cow. It was an amazing thing, but at the same time, I was still not at peace. I did not know. I had a measure of peace, but I still didn't have that understanding until the day came when my husband stopped contributing financially to our family. God was positioning me to be in a place where I could provide for my family by myself because He knew that that's what was going to be needed. What an epiphany that was for me. I can remember at that time, Casting Crowns had a song out that was called, I'll Praise You in the Storm. And in the Old Testament, God would lead people through a place and then He would say, now I want you to go grab some stones and build an altar of remembrance. I want you to remember this time. I want you to remember, what I brought you through. Every time you go past this altar, remember what I did for you. That song from Casting Crowns is my altar of remembrance. Every time I hear it, I remember how the Lord yanked me out of, really it was my comfort zone. It's where I wanted to be. He yanked me out of that and He put me where I needed to be. So I can sit here before you today and with all honesty and integrity, I can say to you, He is faithful and I do praise Him. A year ago, again, I was yanked out of what I thought was my comfort space. I was brought here to a land that I didn't know. Lots of things here are wonderful. My kids were here. I love that. You people are great people here. But still, this was not my plan. This was not my plan at all. But because of my experience 15 years ago with my God, this last year has been so much easier, so much smoother, because I know He is who He is, no matter where I am. So yes, I am thankful, even in the trials and in the storms.
Hi, I'm Kathy Manuel. This year, it seems like my journey was the journey with my mom. What God has done through this time, it's been an amazing journey. One I would not ever go back. When I found out that my mom had cancer, she called and she said that when she found out she had AML, acute myeloid leukemia, she had less than 3 weeks to live. It hit me like a brick. I couldn't breathe. With Lee, my support, there was no question what I was to do. I was to go and spend every step with her. There was no question, it wasn't an option. Lee supported me 100%, no matter what. It didn't matter about finances, the kids. We'd never been away from each other for more than a week. Now I'm gone away for months. We saw God's hand in this in so many ways. God was there every step. They wouldn't even have found it if she wasn't going in for a follow-up to pneumonia. The blood work that she had done would not have been done for 2 months, and it would have been too late. She would have been gone. But her family doctor found the small abnormality and called her hematologist that was working with her. That was a blessing. That we wouldn't have even had the time, the 10 months we had with her. It would have been gone in 3 weeks or less. And what did you say to your mom in 3 weeks? So the 10 months I had was amazing and a God-given gift.
Hi, I'm Lee Manuel, and this last year has been a roller coaster ride for our family. According to my wife, it was difficult for her being with her mom. It was difficult for me being almost a single parent for 10 months out of the year, trying to get the boys here and there, trying to make sure this matched, that matched, all the finances were in line, because during that time, of course, my wife was not working and that income wasn't coming in. But God was very proficient in providing all our needs. We saw an increase in 30% or more in the business during this time. And it wasn't something that I did, it was something that God did. And so I'm thankful for that. It was a struggle for me, as my wife alluded earlier. The longest we had been apart from each other was probably 4 or 5 days at the most. And in 30 years of being together, it just was hard, not having my best friend, next to me. So that was a challenge. I didn't let the boys see that I was struggling with that, but I am thankful that we walked through that because God's provision to me was so evident during this time. I have to put a shout out to Annette Nepper, makes a banging lemon meringue pie, and all the other families who helped provide meals during the time. I will say Papa John's became one of our best friends, but I think in the midst of all this, it called me to a deeper understanding of who God is and how He works, even in the smallest of details, and how He provides even when we don't know we need it. Sometimes when you're in the midst of a situation like that, you can't see the ending. You just see yourself in the midst of the situation and you feel overwhelmed, scared even, but knowing that God is in charge, He's sovereign, He has a plan and purpose, as Jeremiah 29:11 alludes to when He was speaking to the Israelites. There's a plan and purpose for us. There's a reason we're walking through this. I am blessed to say God was our provider. He was our strong tower, our shelter, our hope, our refuge during this time. Yes, it was difficult for me to walk through it. It was difficult for the boys, difficult for me as a husband, not being able to hold my wife's hand during this time, knowing that she needed an emotional support, and I wasn't there to give it to her, and I knew what she was going through. So that weighed on me. I am very thankful for this body of believers and their prayers and petitions they put up for Mom and for Kathy and her dad and the rest of our family. And I am very thankful that God allowed us to walk through this and that we came on through it the other side, and we can still keep our heads high and say that God is our provider and He is our Father. He is our Jehovah Jireh.
God had answered so many prayers. One of the things, if you ever would have known my mom, was God was first, and she let everybody know it. So when we were going for leukemia, for the first chemos, for her transplants, and then unfortunately for the end of life, God had shown many prayers. She never got sick with her chemotherapy, and that was one fear she had, is the sickness that comes with it, and not once did she get sick. God's hand was upon her always. During that time, we looked at this as, what could God do? What was God going to use while we walked through this? And everybody that came into that room, our room, because I stayed there every night and every day, heard about Jesus, heard about God in one way or the other. We've had nurses say that they didn't believe. Well, trust me, when they sat there and had to listen to my mom with every procedure, because they had to be there, they at least knew and could make a choice by the time they left. At least they knew who Jesus was. Then end life. God's strength. God met me in a place that I couldn't have been. When they said that there was nothing else they could do, and you see that doctor kneeling by my mom's bed crying because there was nothing else man could do. I prayed God to give me the endurance, the strength. I had my medical hat on for many months. Many months. I was there watching her labs, taking care of her, every physical need that I could. And I think with our faith, I knew at that point there was nothing, no earthly thing that could be done for my mom. I knew I asked for God to just carry me through the next 2 weeks, through the death process, through the burial process. He never left my side. The presence we had at home when we got Mom home was amazing. God was there for the people that visited, for the people that could come and say goodbye. He was there every step of the way. The verse that carried us was my mom's favorite, Philippians 4:13. I can do all things through Christ who strengthens me. Because of our faith, death is nothing to fear. As Paul says, we are a citizen of two worlds. Mom is just residing in the heavenly places. And though we miss her dearly here on earth, I know and look forward to the day that we will be reunited again. There are so many things to be thankful for. And there's no way I'd walk through this trial without God.